It's 4 o'clock on Tuesday, and you know what that means. It's time for another exciting episode of Taxi's Quarantini Happy Hour. Woo! This week starring Mr. Chuck Henry. Yeah, baby. And thank you, fake band. Thank you, fake audience. Wow, it's freezing in my house, but I don't want to get up to warm up the air conditioner. Hello, everybody in the chat room. Coming to you live from Los Angeles and Atlanta, Georgia. I'm going to stall a little bit, waiting for, there we go, the people are showing up in the chat room. The tech has been fairly stable today. We've had a couple little glitchy moments. We hope it stays stable. Actually, I am going to go warm up the AC. I'll be right back. Okay. Let's see. There we go.
Isn't it like 90 there today or this week?
It was 93 the other day.
Oh, God.
I don't know what it is today. It's warm, but it's not 93. Hello, everybody. Hello, Darren Fletcher, Dean Turner, Peter Rahill, Nancy Khalil, Patrick Adams, Greg Carosa, Dan Weber again, Akira Canyon, Peter Rahill, Bob Gunnerfelt, John Pearson, Andre Sapanian, Justin Mather, Edmund Red, KBL, hey, Keith. Keith, who I've owed a phone call to for like 2 weeks at least.
I know most of those guys.
Yeah. Cass McKenty, Lori Addis, L. Harrison, Robbie Hancock, George Pajevic, Alan McCool, Matthew Vanderbo. Oh, man.
Vanderbo!
I told you guys, don't let Vanderbo join us.
He's going to...
That's all right. See, now I'm glad you can't see the chat room. Anyway.
God knows what he's going to say.
Anyway, I'm excited to have Chuck here. He's been a Taxi member for how many years now? Like 25?
Yeah.
Yeah,
1985.
All right, so what's the math on that? 95, 25 years.
Yeah.
Wow. And we've known each other the whole time. We've become friends. We've become better friends over the last, 3-4 years, something like that. And I'm just so incredibly proud of Chuck because he's one of the guys that figured it out pretty early on and just got laser focused, put the blinders on, sat down and said, I can do this. And he's become quite successful at doing music for media, I guess would be the broader term, but most of his stuff ends up in television. He got a record deal years ago through Taxi with a New Age label. He's got a ton of stuff in TV shows. I don't know, I forgot to ask you, for as long as I've known you, have you had stuff end up in any films as a result of the music you make?
Have I?
Well, if you got to think that hard about it.
Yeah. I have done films before.
Right, but that was like you scoring one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so tell us about how you got started. I still remember, and I've told this story on the show before, but I think Deb and I were in Nordstrom in Woodland Hills, and there's this guy playing piano under the escalator, and it was Mr. Henry. So
After the rally.
What?
After the rally.
After the rally? Yeah,
it was like Sunday or Monday of the rally. I was like, oh, there's Michael Laskow. Cool. And I was like, why are you even alive? Why are you even not sleeping right now?
Yeah, good question. Well, anyway, so tell everybody, how you transitioned from doing live gigs and recording New Age stuff for records, how you transitioned into doing music for TV and film.
Gosh, how did that? Mainly from Taxi, because I joined in 95. So I'm like, we get a record deal. And then I think I skipped a few years, joined back in 2000. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. I can do this. And I would read the listings. I'm like, oh, I write to the listings. And that's where it started at.
Go ahead.
and I would do all these tracks, and they got forwarded and got some deals. Uh, that's what really started it was taxi. Thanks to you.
Well, you're welcome, and thanks to your talent. It takes two, buddy.
Aw.
So, what was the deal when you started doing music for TV? How did you figure out like what the form was to do cues? You know, going from like doing 6 minute long new age pieces that were, you know, almost formless, if you will,
Yeah.
to doing cues, which, you know, it's not like you have to have an absolute form, but there are several forms you have to understand, you know, about having edit points and a developmental arc. And how did you learn that stuff?
God, just I learned by doing. Um, God, it's been so long. I mean, it's just like 20 years ago. It's been so long. I don't even remember. I would just look, watch TV shows, and see what's being used, and like, oh, well, I can do that. Um, yeah, there was a taxi listing. Gosh, I don't know, like it's been 2002 maybe, looking for hip hop cues for a film. And I'm like, I think I could do hip hop. That might be kind of cool. So I did a bunch, and they got forwarded. It didn't ever, nothing came from that. But then when the supervisor for Pimp My Ride on MTV, I found him, and he's like, yeah, we do hip hop. So I was like, well, I remember I had these hip hop cues I did. And I listened to them like, what actually sound pretty cool. And I submitted them, and he's like, yeah, we like your beats. I'm like, beats? You like my drum grooves? I didn't know what beats meant back then. But started it, just kept doing it. I mean, how TV cues were constructed, and it's been a long process. You don't
Yeah.
learn overnight.
How long did it take you to feel like you were competent? Like almost anything that somebody could throw at you, you could figure it out and do it?
Oh God, um, I, took, I knew I could do it from the start. I was pretty confident. Um, I would say it took me about 5 to 6 years to really learn the process and learn the art of production music.
And how long did it take you from the time that you got your first well, how long did it take you to get your first deal through Taxi, would you say? Did it happen in that first year?
Yeah, it did actually.
And how long after that did it take you to start earning? Like, what kind of money did you make in the first year of doing stuff for TV?
Oh, not that much. It takes a while. You have to be persistent and build up your catalog, build up the tracks that you're giving to the libraries. Um, I would say my first real income, that took like 7 years.
Wow. Okay. You know, I think there's something to that 7 year thing because,
But also, there's people like Matt Vanderboe and Steve Baird who came in later, and for some reason they just learned it faster, and there's more opportunities. And within like 2 or 3, 4 years, they were making good money.
well, also
But back
because,
then, when I started,
yeah, there were a lot of trailblazers like you that kind of figured it out. So they had, you know, honestly, they were really fortunate to have people like you to learn from. When you started out, it was basically like you, Matt
Matt
Hurt,
Hurt, yeah,
Maz, John Mazet. You know, there was just a small handful of you guys, and you were all kind of figuring it out together. And then after that, you guys, everybody else kind of learned from that first wave of guys. So they were
yeah,
fortunate, and it's cool that you're still friends with all those guys.
oh yeah,
So I had the 7 year thing. You know, everybody taxi members call it the 5 year plan. I found when I started taxi, it took me 7 years to get back to the income level I was at before I started the company.
Wow.
It was a long 7 years. You get used to a certain level of income, and then all of a sudden you're back to being like, a college student. Just wondering where your next rent check is coming from. It was a tough thing to adapt to.
And I remember it was like 1995. You had ads in like Music Connection, I think.
Recording magazine, probably.
Recording, yeah. I kept seeing.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, taxi. What is this? I kept seeing them. Like, all right, maybe I should like call up. So I remember I was at Nordstrom. I was on a break. I'm like, all right, I'll call him. I called you up. You're like, yeah, come into the office because your office were like just down the street from Nordstrom. So I remember coming in there, and you and Doug Minnick, and you had this little tiny desk in that apartment. And I remember signing the check and signing for taxi.
Do you know
that was 25 years ago?
That desk is sitting behind me between the halo light that's above me. Uh-huh. Maybe you can see it. If I lean over, see that little desk right by you can see a door between the front door and that closet door. There's a little desk. That's the desk. That's the actual desk that taxi was started on. And my wife insists that we keep it in the house as a reminder that, of where we come from. So that desk, it's been stained. It used to be kind of southwesty looking, but it's like an early American antique that I stained light to look southwesty. And then when we moved into this house, I think I stained it dark. And we've had that thing now for, 30 years or something.
Wow. Didn't you say that you had a dream one night about taxi and just had this dream of like, and you woke up like, I can start this company and do all this. Isn't that how it started?
I actually had a boss in Hollywood, my last boss, who had a very successful post-production company in Hollywood, and I was the general manager of it, and then I opened up a New York office, which just exploded. So had this company with like almost 50 people on each coast, and I just didn't like my boss. I hope Larry's not watching this episode, but he was not the nicest man. He and I got along, but anyway, bottom line is I had a company BMW, and I remember walking out of my office, seeing him in the hallway, and he said something that pissed me off, and I took the keys to the Beamer out of my pocket, and he dropped it into his hand, and he said, "What, you're quitting?" And I said, "Yeah, I am." And I went back into my office, put my feet up on my desk, tilted back in my chair, and I thought, I'm the dumbest guy I've ever met. I can't believe I just quit a 6-figure job with an office and an apartment on each coast. What the hell was I thinking? And the next thing that popped into my head was the idea for this company. So I called my then girlfriend. Maybe she was my fiance at that point. And I said, can you pick me up after work? And she said, why? Is your car broken? Kinda. I didn't even own a computer. I went back to her apartment in Santa Monica, used her old terrible computer, and sat at that thing for 48 hours other than going to the bathroom and grabbing a bite to eat. And I wrote the entire business plan in 48 hours, did all the projections and everything. And then at some point, I remember we were sleeping and I woke up and I had the idea for calling it Taxi, maybe in a dream, whatever. I woke up at like 6 a.m. My wife is somebody who does not like to be woken up. Even if she slept till noon, she wouldn't want you to wake her up. She does not wake up in a good mood. And I kicked her. I had all this like burning enthusiasm because I had the idea for the company name. I'm going to call it Taxi because it gets you from where you are to where you want to go.
Where you want to be.
Yeah, and I like kicked her shin with my foot. Wake up, wait, Deb, I've got it. I'm going to call it Taxi. And she was pissed off. Anyway, I wrote Taxi down on a napkin on my nightstand, and whatever it was that I was drinking, the condensation from the glass got the napkin a little moist. It blurred it, but later when we woke up for real, I saw the word Taxi, and that was the whole deal. So yeah, thanks for interviewing me.
You're welcome. It's just so cool.
Go ahead.
It's just the the amount of careers that you have made from this is just mind blowing.
I still don't believe it. Honestly, Chuck, not a week goes by where something doesn't make me go, wow, I never dreamed that it would change this many lives.
Yeah.
I'm proud of it and grateful for it.
Not
And
just changing lives, but the friendships that you've made
yeah,
from Taxi and the rally. And it's like, oh my God, so many of my best friends in the world are because of Taxi.
well, they say they're your best friends.
I know, really. I pay them well.
No, it is cool. I mean, people are collaborating all over the world because of an idea that I had caused by my boss being a jerk. Anyway.
Right. Yeah.
And we've got this awesome staff of people right now. It's actually, we're kind of having fun working remotely, but the other day I went to the office to water some plants. And I just walked through the place all by my lonesome. All the lights were off, and the air conditioners were off, so it was kind of hot and sticky in there. And I just walked through and looked at everybody's desk, and I really missed the staff. But don't tell them. Do you remember what your income was that first year, about, give or take? I mean, was it like a few $100, a few $1,000?
The first year of Taxi?
Yeah.
Well, it's probably not that much because it takes a while to actually get your paycheck.
Yeah.
Your first placement. It was only it was very minimal the first few years, and then it gradually built up. And I would say it wasn't until 2007, 8, especially 2009, it just went up.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, this is kind of cool.
So, is it safe to say that the first year might have been zero, second year? What I'm getting at is the thing that Chuck Schlachter did a few years ago on stage with me at the rally, where he projected how much money, a hypothetical Taxi member could make. And the first year, I think he had them down for $1,000. The next year it was $1,500. Year number 3 it was 2,500, 3,000. So I'm bringing this up because I want people who may not be part of our regulars that are in the chat room right now and who haven't been to a road rally and haven't seen a Taxi TV. It breaks my heart when people get disappointed that, all right, I had something forwarded. I'm not going to be poor for much longer. And then a year later they quit because they didn't make any significant money. And I just so badly want them to understand that if they got a forward and they got something picked up by a library or 2 or 3 in that first year, they're going to make the money. They just have to keep doing it over and over and be patient. Is that a true statement?
Keep feeding the pipeline. That's what I say.
Yeah.
And even if you get a forward, it doesn't mean you're going to get called the next day. Because now I'm on the other side. I was a member, but now I'm running listings with Taxi. And
as a library.
Yeah, as a library. And I'm still getting caught up on quite a few listings that I've run. And Tom even asked me, he's like, can we run some more listings for you? I'm like, yeah, let me get caught up. This is not fair to the members if I run more listings now when I'm still catching up on the ones that I have. He's like, oh, that's cool, man. Totally cool. But I tell you, you were right. You said that you were blown away by the quality of Taxi members' music.
Yeah.
And I have found that 100% true.
I want to tell them where this is all coming from. I've known Chuck forever, and I know that he's had a little library. It's basically just been Chuck and, I don't know, half a dozen composer friends of his that he's met at the rally over the years. And at some point, about a year and a half ago, I said, Chuck, why don't you build the library up? Run some listings. He goes, yeah, maybe I should. And tell them, what's happened because of that, just the quality and all that stuff.
Yeah, I started with just, a few years ago, it was mostly my tracks and maybe 10 or so of my friends from Taxi that I trusted, had great stuff. And I was like, I got to really, if I'm going to do this, I need to kind of build it up a bit more. So I started running Taxi listings, and I have met some amazing composers, amazing people that become friends with all over the world. And I'd say it probably went from, I don't know, 15 composers a few years ago to now well over 150.
Wow.
Because of taxi. And it's so cool meeting these people all over the world.
It was no.
The best thing was meeting them face to face at the rally last year.
Yeah.
That was just awesome.
That's an unintended consequence that I never would have imagined. I mean, when I started the company, the convention wasn't a thing. That happened as a result. I used to have, I don't even know if all my staff members know this, but back in probably 96, 97, 94, I don't know, somewhere in the early, mid, or mid 90s, I had advisory panels in Los Angeles, San Francisco, Dallas, Chicago, and New York, New Jersey, I want to say. Mm-hmm. And like once or twice a year, I would get on a plane and I would go to all those cities, and I would get either one of the members would donate their house to the cause, or I would get a hotel meeting room, and we would just hang out for a day, sometimes 2 days, and just order in ridiculous amounts of food and hang out and brainstorm. It's, what do you like about the critiques? What do you not like about the critiques? What do you like about the submission process? What do you not like? And at some point, somebody said, why don't you guys do a convention? Because all the other conventions I go to suck. And it's true, because I used to be on panels at other people's conventions. I still am now, but I'm very selective about where, which ones I'll do. But back in the day, I would go to anybody's convention, be on any panel just to get exposure for the company. And it was embarrassing. I would sit down the panel, they would announce what the panel was, and whoever was the so-called moderator, in air quotes, there we go, air quotes, and the moderator would say, okay, let's start down at that end. Michael, tell everybody what your typical day is like. And then the next person, what's your typical day like? And the next person, what's your typical day like? And nobody really cares about my day or anybody's day. They all want to know one thing. How do I get my music to people in the industry, and what do I need to know about making that music so that they'll like it when they get it and sign me? And how much money can I make? And so I thought that was a great suggestion to start a convention, and I've never forgotten how I felt sitting on those other panels where they were poorly moderated. So that's why I personally put a lot of effort into the rally, writing questions that I know that everybody in the ballroom would ask if they were holding that microphone in their hand. So I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you.
And you are the best moderator. Oh, my God.
Thank you.
You have a gift of gab.
Well, I am a gabby dude, but it's just I know my members really well. I know what the people in the audience want to know. So I do consider that a welcome and a high compliment at the end of a panel when people walk up to me as I'm running out of the ballroom to go hit the men's room, and they go, Michael, you asked every question that I want, that I would have asked.
Yeah.
And that's why the Road Rally is so good, because it's not about making the people on the stage look glamorous or glorious or put them up on a pedestal. It's about, please tell the people in that ballroom sitting behind me, because I sit in the front row to moderate, please tell them what they really need to know to be successful. Yeah.
Can we say something?
Yeah.
Okay, guys, look at the clock back there.
They can't see it in my shot. I'll go get mine off the wall. Hang on to yours. I'll be right back. This is really funny. Okay.
We both have the same damn clock.
What are the odds?
I saw that last night on Taxi TV. I'm like, oh my God, that's my same clock. I had to get it off the wall.
All right, where can I put that? Okay. Yeah, that was.
We have good taste in timepieces.
We do. Okay. What are your most lucrative genres? That's something people always want to know, and I can't blame them. Why should they put effort into making, really, like, I do I'm trying to think of something, you know. Oh, for instance, we recently had listings for Romany music, you know, basically gypsy music.
That was my listing.
Well, you and an indie filmmaker also needed
Oh,
Romany for something.
I got I got some amazing stuff from that too.
And I just wonder, why would anybody want to invest their time? And frankly, I was surprised you ran a Romany, and I was even more surprised that that film producer ran one, because in 28 years of owning Taxi, I've never seen another Romany listy come in, ever. So what are the genres that have been most productive, most lucrative? Forget productive. Go right to the dollars. Which ones have earned you the most money?
For me, I'd say the top would be hip hop. Definitely. Tension has been huge. Like
what types of tension?
like the stuff they play on Catfish. That's a very good example.
What about people who haven't watched Catfish? How would they know? Describe it. Is it?
Well, one thing that they use a lot is tension drone,
Okay.
and I think I don't. The supervisor on that show called me. Oh gosh, before the show started, and she was like, "Yeah, we really like this drone tension stuff you have. It's really making the show. Can we get some more?" I'm like, okay. And I was really busy at the time, but I did a few. I should have done a lot more, because that first statement from ASCAP for the first season of Catfish was like about $46,000.
Wow.
And I should have done more, but I was like, oh, whatever, because no one knew what the show Catfish was at the time. But they used everything I had of that, and of course now the second season, it got popular. Everyone descended on, like vultures. Like, ooh. So it's not as easy to get your stuff on that show now. Even though I do know the music supervisor, and still, but it's like everyone wants to get on that show.
Yeah.
But that first season was pretty amazing.
And the reason everybody wants to get on it is because the back end stuff through the PROs is killer, because of the fact it plays multiple times a week in every country in the world, I think.
And on MTV, which is a very good paying network.
Isn't it ironic? Remember in the old days when MTV didn't pay any sort of sync fee up front for a queue, and everybody's like, don't ever give your music to MTV. Now everybody wants to get their music on MTV because it pays really well, and still doesn't pay a sync fee in most cases, right?
Well, I've said a story before. The supervisor on Pet My Ride was the first person that I got connected with MTV, and I sent him my stuff, and he's like, "Yeah, I was like, love your beats," and he's like, "Well, it's all gratis, but you'll make back end." I'm like, "Yeah." That was like 2004. I'm like, I can really use some money, but okay. So I signed the deal. I was like, whatever. If something happens, it does. So about like 9 months later, I get a check in the mail for $900. I'm like, holy crap. And that was just writers, and of course one came for publishing the net. I'm like,
oh man,
I think I might be onto something here.
You're getting the occasional little freeze, but the word that froze before that was key to that whole conversation was gratis, meaning no sync fees up front. It's funny, we just literally, like just a day ago, took on a new library client, and we're actually being really careful not taking on any new library clients right now, just because we've got so many companies that we're working for. Yeah, we're trying to be
more for me.
We're being even more picky than we've ever been before about which libraries we will take on. We've always been picky. Now we're being like ridiculously picky. But a new one approached us the other day, and the owner of the library is an active video editor that works on reality shows all the time. And he's starting his own library that I'm sure will be part and parcel to the work he's doing as editor. When he goes to work on a show, he'll say, hey, do you mind if I, slip in some stuff from my library? Yeah. So it'll be really good for the members. And why did I bring that up? Oh, because he mentioned in his notes to us, because we go through a whole process of making sure the companies are cool to work with before we will run a listing for them. And he mentioned they're working gratis. And I was editing one of the listings before the staff sent me, and it had a little blurb in there about, it's gratis. And I thought we almost don't even really need to say that. But then again, the other day, probably 2 weeks ago, got an email from a staff member that some lady was very flattered that she'd been forwarded, and the company reached out to her. It was a music library, and they weren't going to give her anything up front, and they wanted 100% of her publisher's share. And she said, I almost had a cow when I saw that. And then she reached out to her music attorney, which generally means it's a real estate attorney that took a music law course in college 30 years ago. And and the attorney said, I wouldn't just walk away from this deal. I would run away from that deal. Nobody should ever get your publishing, let alone 100% of your publishing, and for free. But that's a classic case of somebody not knowing how the music library industry works. Is everything that I just said true?
Exactly. I mean, people don't understand. It's like you give your music to a music library, the library gets the publishing, and you get the writers.
Yeah.
That's how it works, 50-50.
Yeah, if I were writing a song that I was going to pitch to Lizzo, I wouldn't give up my publishing on that one. I might do a co-pub deal, with like Sony ATV or, Warner Chappell or somebody really, Universal, whatever. But we're talking library music. Not that I want to denigrate it or refer to it as disposable, but in order to become successful at library music, you have to make a lot of it. And it does become a little bit of a commodity. It's not like that once-in-a-lifetime hit that you're going to pitch to Lizzo. It's just not.
Yeah, it's a totally different thing.
Okay, switching gears a little bit. What's your favorite piano library? We hear a fair number. I can't give you a percentage, but enough that it gets our attention of stuff that comes in where it's like really well recorded, well produced, and the pianos sound like really good samples. They sound really well done, but they still sound like samples. Is that because they bought an inferior library, or because they don't know how to, do the articulations? What makes a $500 sample piano library sound not that great?
Well, as you guys know, I'm a piano player since I was 6 years old, and see that piano right there? That Steinway, that's what I grew up on, and that's what made me who I am, right there. That one. I'm a stickler for piano sounds.
Yeah.
Right now, I am using Keyscape for pianos.
I haven't even heard of that one. Tell us about it.
Keyscape is from Omnisphere or Spectrasonics.
Okay.
I did use Ivory before, which is also excellent, but when I got my new system, I didn't transfer it over because I'm an idiot. It's just sitting there in my old system. I don't know. But Ivory, Keyscape, I think Matt Hurt said something about Black Grand, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember. When people send me tracks and the piano sound is like cheesy and chintzy, and I'm like, no. It's got to be like the real thing. And one thing I was just doing, I finally took off my publisher and library hat 2 nights ago and said, you know what? I got to get back to writing again. So I saw this video of during the pandemic, the empty beaches, empty malls, shopping centers, roads, and the score behind it, or whatever they had, was this really dark, minimalistic piano, and it worked so well. I'm like, God, I could do that. It's just so simplistic. So I started doing that, and I used in Keyscape, the patch is called Dark Score.
Everybody's running to their computer right now.
If you have Keyscape, Dark Score, just play like minimal chords. Perfect.
That's a great title for a track, Empty Beaches.
Yeah, I might name one that. But no,
So,
yeah,
so will
it just
150 other people who are watching the show
yeah.
probably. Um,
And
yeah.
I'm sure there's other piano libraries out there. I just don't know of them off the top of my head. But like what I said, I use Keyscape and Ivory, and I'm sure there's more, but I just don't know of them.
Do you do anything to the pianos, or do you just take it as it is? Do you do any compression, any EQ?
I'll do some EQ.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like that dark score I was talking about, it had like too much bass in it, so I had to get the EQ and kind of tone it down a bit.
I've noticed, maybe it's just because I come from an engineering background, but when I hear a lot of even the best sample libraries, somebody at your level using a great library, the stuff sounds almost too good to me. And it's because, well, I mean, they have options. Like, here's a piano with the lid up in a room,
Mm-hmm.
with some distant mics.
Yeah,
Here's a piano with the lid halfway up with a couple of 414s 4 inches above the strings. Um,
like pedal noise.
yeah, which I'm okay with that. You know what?
Yeah,
It's like finger
it's
noise
fun.
on a guitar. It's part of the
It's,
sound.
yeah, it is.
But there are times I want to call taxi members up and go, you know what? You should think about reamp. Well, in guitar world, it would be called reamping. Where they could take that sample and play it out into a bigger room and mic the speakers from several feet away and try and add some room to it. Then maybe even try doing a blend of, what's coming out of the box versus what's coming into the mics. Just because I miss the air, and it sounds like the guys who record some of these piano samples don't understand the context of what air brings to a recording. I can't imagine they would use anybody but great engineers on that stuff. But I hear it a lot. Do you ever open up any of your new software and go, yeah, it just doesn't sound alive. It doesn't sound like it's got any room in it?
Yeah, I mean, I for a while before I got Keyscape, I was using God, the one in Contact. There's a few pianos in Contact. Eh, they're okay. They work okay in the context of a band or whatever, but solo, no. You know what? Here's the thing. Joy Basu
Yeah.
was texting me the other day. He had a track, someone sent him a piano track, and he said it was very great, but at the end with the reverb tail, all of a sudden there was a thud. And he asked me, Chuck, when you let go of the sustain pedal, does it make a thud? I'm like, no, it's not supposed to. And that's one thing that I've noticed. A lot of composers, when they send me some things, not a lot, but some, when you're doing a track, make sure that the reverb tail or whatever fades out completely. Sometimes it's like chopped off. It's like, listen to your tracks before you send them. I've had so many tracks sent to me that's like, I'm like, okay, you gotta fix the ending. It's cut off. That is so important, guys.
How could they not know that? I mean, you would think that
I
they
don't
would.
know.
Well,
Listen with headphones.
yeah.
Put it in your ears and just listen to your mix. And if the thing just like cuts off, do it again and make the thing right. That is so important.
My first 90 days in the business, I worked at Criteria Studios in Miami, and I was making dubs of like rough mixes of something on a Clapton record, and Tom Dowd was producing it, and I wasn't doing. I was checking out. I would do like play the first 5 seconds of a cassette to make sure that it transferred, go halfway into the song, and then to the end. But I wasn't listening critically to the tail. And I did exactly what you're describing and had one of the most famous producers in the world walk in the next day with a cassette in his hand. He said, "You didn't listen to this on headphones at the very end, did you?" That's the kind of mistake you only make once
Yep.
if you want to be in the business long term.
That is so important. Listen to the whole entire track.
Do you use Pro Tools or Logic or something else?
Oh, I've been Pro Tools since 2000. I remember before that I was on. Oh God, it's so embarrassing. What was it called? Master Tracks Pro, which was just MIDI. And I finally got Pro Tools in 2000. I remember installed it, everything, and brought up the interface. I sat there and I'm like, okay, how the hell do I do this? But every day I would learn something new. I would work on it. Let's say like, oh, that's it. So every day, just work with it, and I just eventually just learned it. And I did buy Logic a number of years ago. I was like, well, I'm going to learn this one. Yeah, it's either I didn't have time for that, and I just like, well, I can like sit here and write tracks and new cues, or I can take all this time and learn this new DAW. I'm like, yeah, screw it, I'll just do cues. So, it's $500 spent for nothing.
What does Vanderbilt use?
Pro Tools.
Okay. How about Stephen Baird?
Stephen Baird does not like Pro Tools. He calls it blow tools. He was on Logic, but now he's on Ableton 100%.
Is that because he does so much EDM stuff and Ableton is a little more EDM friendly?
Yeah, I actually do have Ableton. I've been learning Ableton here and there, but I'm nowhere near his level on that. I need a few more tutorials before I can get good on that one.
Describe your workflow, your process. Let's say that you either see a taxi listing or you get a brief from a supervisor and you sit down to do a new cue. Describe the kind of cue that, I'm going to make one up. Somebody needs a country hip hop, a hick hop tension cue.
Hick hop tension?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. I've never heard of that before. That's a new genre.
Well, I'm always trying to push the envelope a little bit. Let's say, the scene is somebody's going to a Western bar, and they've got one of those mechanical bulls, and you need hiccup tension before for the 30 seconds in the scene leading up to when the person actually gets on the bull and breaks their neck. How would you start that cue?
Well, I'm going downstairs after this is over. I'm going to do one of those.
And by the way, when we close out the show today, rather than me playing the regular theme, I want you to go over and play something on the piano, and that'll be our lead out music. Yeah, I'm putting you to work.
Oh, hell. I've been put in the spot. As far as starting, I got to say, since I've been with my library for the past year or two, my own output has not been as much. And I've always heard from every composer who has started a library, they always say, oh man, I really miss, being creative and writing, music. I'm just so busy with the library and the publishing and all that. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm like, yeah, it's true. Don't have as much time to do it. But when I do a track, I have no rhyme or reason. I will literally just say, all right, let's pick a tempo. 97. All right, it works. How about E flat minor? Okay. I'll just start that, and then depending on what kind of cue it is, I might start with the drums or a keyboard riff or whatever. Just start here and just build out. I never have no idea where it's going to end. There's no formula or anything.
Interesting.
And that's just me.
I mean, so you don't sit down and like noodle a melody first and then go, okay, now I know where I'm going, so I'm going to start with the bass and the drums and build it. You don't have a regular pattern within which you build every track? Wow.
No pattern. I mean, that's just me. Other folks could have different ways of doing it, but I'm weird. I just start putting crap crap together and like see what fits. If this fits here, that fits there, and whatever.
How long would it take you to build our fictional hip hop tension cue from start to finish, from first idea to final mix? How long?
No, like I say, I've never done a hip hop tension cue, so I'm not quite sure where I would start with that. But I could do one, and I could probably cobble something together in a day if I
Okay.
had to.
How many cues do you have out there in various libraries, including your own? Any idea at this point, or have you lost count?
I have no idea.
Is it
I can't even.
more than 1,000?
Oh yeah, it's in the thousands, but
Is it true
I
that
really don't know.
is it a fair statement to say that the 80-20 rule applies for your music? Because people see somebody like you who's a successful composer and they kind of assume that everything you write gets picked up, which it may. Everything that gets picked up makes money, which it probably doesn't. What percentage of all the stuff you have out there in the wild would you say earns you some income?
Well, funny story. You know Ben Davis from the Factory
Yeah,
Music.
yeah.
I met him from a taxi listing in 2008. And one thing he told me, I always remember, he said, Chuck, you know what? Everything eventually gets used. And that is so true because I remember, oh God, there was this track I did in late 90s. I don't know, whatever. It's just a silly little goofy track. Thought it would never get used. And all of a sudden I'm sitting there watching Jersey Shore 10 years later. I'm like, I heard it. I'm like, wow, that track finally got used. So I think everything I've done at some point has been used.
That's pretty amazing.
There might be 3 or 4 tracks that have never seen light of day.
That's
Maybe they suck. I don't know.
no, that's miraculous.
But stuff does get used. It'll always find a place.
Do you ever think about the mood or like visualize the kind of scene when
Oh
you
yeah.
when you're writing a piece and you think, okay, I'm going to write a somber scene, a somber piano piece? Do you visualize like somebody in the back of a limo riding home from a funeral or going up to the bedroom, looking at mementos from the deceased person's life? Do you see that stuff as you write?
Definitely. Well, like I was talking about um, that piano thing I did for the pandemic. I saw it on a video on Facebook, so I just pushed mute and played the thing. Well, I played it first, but then I put it up against that. I'm like, oh yeah, that works perfectly.
Wow. Do you ever get like emotionally do you ever listen to a piece that you did like the day after you've done it and the next morning you wake up and walk into your studio, which is in the second bedroom of your apartment in Hollywood, and listen to it and like get emotionally moved, like wipe a little tear from your eye because what you did was so powerful?
No, I get up and I think the night before I'm like, oh man, this is awesome. And I go to bed and I get up and I'm like, oh God, that's crap. Was I drunk? What the hell? No.
Oh man.
Yeah. When I hear it after being away for 8 hours for sleep, I'm like, ooh, God, that's not quite ready yet.
So let's talk about professionalism. As Taxi has gotten more mature and more of our members have deals, which it's like an uncountable number at this point, but I'd say probably 2 to 3 times each and every month of the year, I get phone calls from friends of mine that own libraries, and they're just like beating their head against the phone going, what is with these people? I got somebody's music forwarded to me from you guys. The listing said exclusive in all caps. Right in the first sentence, it said exclusive in all caps down at the bottom. And then I called this person up after listening to their piece 3 times and falling in love with it and just imagining, this thing do really, really well out in the marketplace. I call them up and they go, exclusive? I would never sign an exclusive deal. And the library owner's like beating his head against the phone going, why did you submit to an exclusive deal or a listing if you would never sign a deal like that? So that's just one of many types of examples things I hear about that are just unprofessional. Now that you own an active, burgeoning library, do you run into stuff like that? And do you remember any stories of people doing stuff where you just shook your head and thought, what an idiot?
I have been very lucky, and of all the hundreds of composers that I signed from Taxi, have been completely professional
Wow.
and awesome and amazing. I have not had one bad experience yet.
Go Taxi members. That's amazing. I'm going to quote you on that every time, and you know all these other library owners. Every time they call me to whine about stuff, I'm going to play them back this. Say, what the hell's with you guys?
And it's so cool. It's like there's we had some EDM listings last year, and Andrew Jordan and Brent Horsager, if I'm that right. Brent's this young dude up in San Jose. He's like he might be 20 now. I don't know. They both did amazing stuff. And I remember Brent, I was like, hey man, are you going to go to the rally this year? And he's like, oh yeah, rally. Sounds fun. What's that? I'm like, oh God. So I had to tell him what the rally was. And he's like, oh yeah, I'll go to that. So his parents paid for him to go to the rally. And Andrew Jordan, who's amazing. And I was like, okay, you guys need to kind of get together and co-write. So I put them together in an email, and they hung out the whole time at the rally and became friends. Now they're co-writing. It's just so cool to be able to put folks together and create new friendships. But yeah, I've not had one bad experience yet from Taxi listings that I can think of. I'm trying to think. They've all been, they're also professional. There's no, I send the contract. They're, oh, awesome. They sign it. One guy, I send the contract. He sent it back in 5 minutes. I'm like, did you read the contract? 5 minutes. I'm like, okay.
Oh, man. I see John Pearson commenting in the chat room. Andrew, meaning Andrew Jordan, is awesome. You've talked about this earlier in the show, but I totally agree with you. So many of our members are just nice people that even if you didn't meet them in the context of music or doing business with them, they would be your friends because, just nice. They're kind-hearted, nice, normal people.
And professional.
Yeah, it's awesome. I say we've got 7 minutes left. I think we should go 15 minutes after the hour today, a little longer than our normal Quarantini happy hour, because I'd like to open up the chat room for people to ask you their questions. I oftentimes finish a show and go, damn, I didn't get around to that. So before you guys can start typing in your questions now. And
I can't see them.
Right, I'll tell you. I'll pick out the good ones.
Okay.
And while these guys are typing their questions, I want to remind everybody that's watching this to please hit the like button. You can do it right now. If you're watching, if you're not a subscriber, smash that red subscribe button. Become a Taxi TV subscriber. Click the little bell so that you get notifications when we go live.
I was going to say that the past 3 years I have done the mentor sessions.
Yeah.
And each year I assigned 2 of my mentorees. So get in line for mentor sessions because I want to meet you guys.
Awesome. I just accidentally bumped something and reported somebody for...
Oops.
Well, I don't know who that was, but... they're gone now, and whoever it was, if you get reached out to by YouTube, I'm so sorry. Okay. Do you have Ragini wants to know, do you have the title of a sample piano piece in your library that uses keyscapes that they can listen to?
Oh, God. Hey, Rags. I can't think of it off the... I know Rags, so I'll just I am her on Facebook.
Okay.
Because I can't think of one top of my head right now.
All right. Justin Mather is leaving the chat room.
The hell was that?
Glenn Letts wants to know, what do you think about pursuing new age music?
I think that's a great thing. I love to hear it. I'm actually doing a project right now with doing new age music. So there's a big market for that. Huge market for it.
Randy Stanton wants to know, what are the most important aspects of being professional? Talking about Taxi being pro. So I think he means in the context of what we all do in the music community. What are some of the most important aspects about being professional? I think that's a good question.
I give you a story. When I first joined Instagram, yeah, 2018, I said I'm not going to do Instagram. I'm not going to do Twitter, Facebook. It was enough of a time waster. But I was like, okay, I can do Instagram. I promote my business. So I did, and this one dude started IMing me on Instagram, and I got my phone. I'm like, how the hell does this work? What the? Huh? It was this army dude in Texas.
What kind of dude? Army?
Army.
Okay.
Army. He's an army. He did hip hop and stuff. He's like, hey man, I want to make some beats with you and make some royalties. I'm like, okay, whatever. Great. But he kept being very professional and checking in with me. And he sent me a link to his stuff. And I was like, actually, it's not bad. It's okay. And he just kept, every so often, just checking in and saying hi. Very professional. And then at one point, I needed a bunch of trap tension for Kardashians. And he checked in with me again. I'm like, all right, dude, I got something for you. I need some trap tension. I think you can do that. He's like, yeah, I got you, man. He sent me like 5 tracks. I think I took 2 of them, and I said, okay, well, we need to make a few changes on these, change this, blah, blah, no problem. He did it. And those 2 tracks got used in Kardashians, and those were his first placements ever, and he was just over the moon. Wow. He just could not even believe it. Because he almost said, yeah, I'm gonna do music. And we're like, yeah, whatever, dude. He got him in Kardashians and made some good money. And I was like, that is so cool. But you have to be professional. And, don't be obnoxious. Just check in every now and then. Be professional and don't be an ass.
Mojo, don't answer the questions before Chuck can. He's the guest. Mojo Bone is answering questions left and right, and now I've got to toss out one of my questions. Well, I'll see what your opinion is. Alex Dillon asked, how many edit points should a typical piece of library music have?
I would like at least 1, but 2, 3, 4 are great.
And are they full stop, like a whole note rest kind of edit points? Or are they just places where it's got a drop and it's obvious that would be a good place to cut? How do you define an edit point?
I call it a natural stop. It doesn't sound weird. It's like, I remember I was on some composers a few years ago, and they made these edit points. It just were like, okay, that's, you don't need 6 seconds of sounds. It has to sound like a cadence. It's a natural stop. But I would say 2 or 3 would be perfect if you can put those in there. But if a song, starts from the beginning, goes to the end, that might be fine. But editors they'll take, I can take this little part here or this little part, and the edit points just gives your track so much more potential for placements.
Right. Royal Priesthood Beats wants to know, hi, I make trap beats. How much opportunity is there for it? Meaning trap beats.
Oh, trap is huge.
Yeah.
That gets used on all these shows right now.
Any advice you have on people that want to make great sounding trap? Or are there any rules of the game that they should be aware of that are kind of standard issue things that all trap should have?
Well, I would say listen to the shows that use that kind of genre and model after that.
Good,
If
solid
you
advice.
if you're doing trap music, if that can stand up with what you hear on TV, then you're good to go.
Whoops, hang on. I just lost a question. Here we go from Akira Canyon. Do you have an expiration date for exclusive contracts? I saw a forum post where someone wanted to expire one contract due to no activity. Okay, so I'm going to distill that question down a little bit. There was some discussion on the forum. I'm sure there's been lots of discussion over the years on the forum about, should I sign an exclusive contract if they don't have a reversion clause? Or even if they do have a reversion clause, how long would you give a library before you'd say, hey, you've had my music for X amount of time, you haven't gotten it placed anywhere, can I have it back? How do you feel about that?
I agree 100%. My contract has a 5-year reversion clause. There are some that are like perpetuity. It's like, you give that up, it's like, bye. So if they don't do anything with it, you're done. But mine has a 5-year reversion clause. So if I suck and I can't get it placed for 5 years, you can just take it back.
Alex Dillon, he's back for a second question, and normally I would try to go to somebody else, but this is a good question. What are stems?
What are stems? Okay. You take a track, you stem out the drums, the bass, keyboards, guitar, percussion, whatever else. Each part is soloed. So you might have 7, 10, 15 different stems on a track, but each part of a song is stemmed out, soloed.
So, and the purpose is so that the editor can then take which parts of the mix that he or she wants to use. And basically rebuild your mix, because all the stems are sent at the same relative level that they would be if you listen to the full mix. So you could take the bass, drums, and just the keyboard, and if you put all the faders up at 0, it's gonna be relative to where you had it in the mix, correct?
Yes, and don't mess with the faders. I had one composer send me some alt mixes, some bed mixes without the melody, which made it softer.
Right.
So he brought up the volume to make it even with the other one. I'm like, dude, did you just bring up the volume on the bed mixes? He's like, yeah, no. Because what it is if you have a bed mix without the melody, whatever, if an editor wants to go, back and forth between the full mix and the bed mix, it'll all sound the same volume. So do not mess with the volume levels.
Right. Even if the meters look low or it sounds lower, it's got to be got to be relative.
Don't touch them.
Brent Horsager says,
Brent!
What's your favorite thing about taxi music?
Brent's my favorite thing about taxi. Favorite thing about taxi? You mean taxi in general, or?
I think so. I think my favorite thing has been not only receiving great music, but my favorite thing has been making amazing friends over the years. That has definitely been my favorite. Did you have any friends? Did you have any friends before you met Taxi? None.
No. Taxi is. Oh my God, the amount of friends I make in Taxi is just. Thanks to you, it's amazing. What you've done is just like, wow. It still blows my mind.
Blows my mind.
I know.
Let's see. Okay, next question, please. I see a lot of comments, not a lot of questions. A lot of comments. Come on, somebody's got to have a question out there. We can end this show right now. If you kids don't start asking questions, damn it,
Questions
I'm going to turn this car right around.
and take the keys.
Yeah, now they're talking about surfers on beaches. I got to say, I saw a video this morning of one of the beaches, I believe in LA County, and the people were so careful about not being near each other. The beach was mostly empty, and yet they're like arresting people and giving out $1,000 fines. It's like, dude,
Well,
huh?
well, here in Georgia, they opened up everything. Friday, bowling alleys, hairdressers, gyms, and now today they open up movie theaters and restaurants.
Wow.
A lot of them aren't really doing that. Like my gym's like, we ain't opening.
Yeah. I would go to a gym if I had rubber gloves and sanitizer and a mask on. I mean, but whatever.
I'd love to go to the gym if I could. God, I'm getting like this. I'm a fat cow now.
I think we're all getting fat. Paul Croto wants to know. By the way, Paulie, I saw somebody with your last name in a credit late last night. It wasn't you, but I saw another Croto. Question, Chuck, is there one thing that your clients tell you repeatedly, good or bad? I find that to be an incomplete question, Paulie, because do you mean his clients when he's wearing his library owner hat or his clients when he's wearing his composer hat?
The only thing, which I told you a couple months ago, like me and Matt Vanderbilt on our urban comedy tracks, we might have named a few like kind of risque. And
really,
I'm not going to say them now, but the supervisor on Kardashian was like, "Yeah, Chuck, love your music, but these 3 tracks, your names, I can't quite give them out to the editors because there might be a female editor that might get offended." And I'm like, "Oh, never thought about that." Yeah, so I've had to tone down my raunchy names.
Well, if you ever need advice, you can always email me a name, text me a name, and say, "Okay, Laskow, give it the thumbs up or thumbs down."
I told you that one when we had that meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, ooh. Yeah, I got in trouble for that one.
Nancy Khalil says, talk about matching your music to the ad specs. I'm pretty sure she means to the listing request or something that you get in a brief. How do you match your music to those?
Whatever the listings say, we need this, and they give like 2 or 3 examples, follow what the examples say.
There you go.
If it stands up to the examples that Taxi sent, then you're good. I don't know what to say on that.
Can you expand on your don't overthink it advice? That's from Darren Fletcher.
Darren, he's awesome. He was one of my mentors at the rally a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Mentorees. Mentee.
Right. It's a name. It's a new mouthwash I've come out with.
Minty.
Right. It's minty fresh.
Yeah, I've always said, do not overthink. If you're doing a track, at some point, you got to stick a fork in it and say, okay, it's done.
Yep.
And same thing with, I was talking about those piano tracks earlier. Just simplistic, very minimal, and the whole, it's like, me being a, classical and jazz pianist, I want to put more stuff in there. It's like, ooh, I can do that. No, just don't overthink. Just keep it simple. And simple actually works better. Less is more.
We have a listing going out very shortly that says, I actually edited it and said, Keep it simple, comma, keep it simple, keep it simple, because you can't stress that enough. Lori Addis has a great question. Is it better for composers to write in multiple genres or to be known for a certain style?
I have heard that question over and over at the rallies for years. Being a TV composer or whatever, ads, films, it's great to be versed in a lot of different styles. I remember there's someone on a panel you had, and he said, yeah, when I ask a composer what he does, if they say, well, I do it all, he's like, immediately like, no, not talking.
Right.
You can't do it all. It's like, I don't do country, I don't do bluegrass, I don't do heavy metal or death metal, whatever. It's like, but definitely find your genre that you excel at and definitely make that your thing. But if you do other ones too, yeah, awesome. But no one can do everything. It's impossible.
Yeah, I've often said that on stage at the Road Rally. It's the surest way to identify yourself as being amateurish to an industry pro by saying, I can do rock, I can do hip hop, I can do country, I can do blues. Like, nah.
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of different kind of genres, and if you can do different genres and do them well, that's great. But like I got some submissions from a composer. Well, I had all sorts of different stuff, like hip hop and this, that, and the other, whatever. But he was Irish, and his Irish stuff was amazing. I'm like, and I've just started a new international label on my library. I was like, dude, can you do some more Irish stuff? This is awesome. He's like, oh yeah, I can do that. It's like, do what you don't. If you don't really know a certain genre, don't try to do it. And if it's not really working, I don't know how to say it.
Yeah. When you meet people and they say, well, what kind of music do you do? Say, well, all forms of tension cues are my specialty, but I can also do this and that, and name a couple others. That's believable.
Yeah, like your three strongest points would be a great elevator pitch.
And as they get to know you and trust you and find you to be talented and reliable and professional, then you can start saying, oh, by the way, I also do. That's the way you build a relationship and develop it into more than it started out as. Greg Carrozza wants to know, how important are titles for getting a track placed?
Very important. I am a stickler for titles. When composers send me tracks, they might have their title, but I almost end up changing 75% of them because they're so important. It has to describe the track, and I also like to get very unique titles that no one else has. So if you go to my library, you'll be like, some of those titles are like, what the hell? Because they're just so out there. But try to be different.
Wow, Steve Archdeacon is in the house. Yo, Steve, how are you, man? Mary Walker wants to know, which PRO do you recommend for someone doing instrumental music and cues? Is it better to be a sole proprietor or an LLC? Well, let's answer first part first. Do you have a preferred PRO, and if so, why?
That's a big stink right now. ASCAP is really pissing off a lot of people, and I've been seeing over the past couple of years so many composers jumping ship from ASCAP to BMI.
Why?
The payments, and well, for instance, okay, BMI pay date was last month, and they paid 2 days early because they said, oh, we need to help out our members. I know you're going through this COVID-19 thing. Everyone's kind of stressed, and we're going to get it out early. ASCAP was like, their payday was April 6th, and they're like, we can't get our payments out, and we're gonna make it like end of April. We don't know a date yet.
Wow.
And they find, huh?
I said, wow.
Yeah, and they finally made it today, April 28th. And mine was the lowest it's been in 10 years. And I've been seeing on Facebook, everyone else has been saying, yeah, my ASCAP payment was crap.
Do you think because they didn't have enough manpower in the office to process all the stuff, and your next payment's going to be nice and fat, or maybe the one after that, the fourth quarter?
Steve Baird, he told me how, okay, ASCAP has a different way they process stuff. I can't even explain it because I'm not that savvy, but they kind of, it's a little weird. So, I don't know. ASCAP is losing a lot of members right now. So if you're going to join either right now, go with BMI.
I think a lot of this started when ASCAP changed their payment, that even vocal placements
yeah, that too.
were getting paid like instrumentals, and people are like, what? I remember that was a big brouhaha.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, it is 5:16. We're a minute long, even with our extension. So first, let me say thank you. I really enjoyed.
Thanks for having me.
Oh man, I love having you on the show. It's it's like hanging out with a buddy over sushi, but all these other people get to hang out with us.
We can't go to sushi tonight because we're like 2,000 miles apart.
I know, but we do have to go back to the place I can't remember the name of. That tiny little place with like 4 or 5 or 6 tables.
Oh God, that was that place in Encino.
Yeah, that was probably the best sushi I've eaten in Los Angeles.
God, that was good.
That was really good. And remember, I almost bought the painting off the wall that night. I'm glad I did. I loved it, but when I took a good close look at it, yeah. Anyway, thank you, Chuck, and congratulations, man, for all your success.
Thank you for making this happen.
You're so deserving of it. You're a good, hardworking guy, and you deserve every penny of it. And I'm really proud of you, and grateful that you've now. You're spreading the love by, doing mentoring at the rally and stuff. Chuck is like the most enthusiastic mentor. Every year after the rally, I get a full report on how much he enjoyed it. So thank you for doing that. And why don't you go over to the piano and play us out?
I was thinking today, for some reason, the song "All Blues" by Miles Davis came into my head. I guess
no, you can't. That. You can't, because then I can't monetize the play something. Just riff.
I'll just make it. How
about a
little melody? How about that?
All right, or a little 1-4-5 boogie woogie, whatever. I don't care.
Yeah, I'll figure something out. I don't know.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chuck Henry. All right, folks, we got to wrap it up. Chuck, if you can hear me, you probably can't because he's not wearing his headphones. Thank you guys. See you tomorrow for another episode of the Taxi Quarantini Happy Hour. Bye-bye.